do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Well, howdy. Welcome to a Friday. Hope you're doing all right in your part of the world and you're looking forward to maybe a couple of days off, enjoying a bit of time with family and friends in what's proving to be, so far, a not terribly dramatic February, unless, of course, you're tied into the markets, in which case that's a whole other story. Don't sweat it, folks. Do not sweat it. I'm going to need to clean my glasses here because... just realised I can't see large portions of the screen, and that's probably a bad thing. So we can talk briefly about silver prices at the moment, which are well down on what we were hoping they would be, of course, but don't give up hope just yet. They're on a bit of a bounce at the moment, the prices, by the look of it, and that could just, be, what do they call it, a dead cat bounce. I mean, the cat died, hit the ground, bounced back up again, and it's going to fall back down again. But maybe that's not the case. Maybe we've already had that flop. The US jobs data comes out in the next 6 or 7 hours or so. Depending on which way that goes, it's going to have a pretty impact on the markets too. Speaking of markets, the Australian market got absolutely flogged today. The ASX falls in line with global markets, but $55 billion was wiped off today's wealth in trading just in Australia. The benchmark ASX 200 dropped 180.4 points, or 2%. The All Ordinaries dropped 200 plus points to, or about 2%. It was the biggest one-day fall since Liberation Day tariffs were announced by Trumpy back in April 2025, so not even a year. And the Australian dollar bounced. Yip yeah. It's now 69.55, or at least that's what it was when they wrote this. Everything was sold off, and if you are following the metals market, you know the gold and silver are both down or have taken a bit of a beating today. I can show you. Well, that, in fact, isn't gold and silver. That's Bitcoin, which gives me the ideal opportunity to bring in the waving wonder himself. Yay! Hello, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good. Well,
so this is the Bitcoin. Yes, this is the Bitcoin live ticker, if you like. 64,500, which is a little bit of a bounce from where it's been, but you are the crypto guy. So what can you tell us about Bitcoin and what's happened?
Well, that's a bit of an interesting sentiment at the moment, in that is actually way below where I called it. I said it would bounce at around 72. And so it's gone right down now, way down 64, which is back at all-time highs of the last bull run. So that's very interesting in that respect. I've only just got out of bed, basically, people, so I haven't even looked at the chart. So Carl's surprising me on this one.
Sorry, mate. I should.
No, we're all good. I have heard that the sentiment in the cryptocurrency market is just not there. There's people that, like, there used to always be talk about it when it was this price, this low, go buy more, go do this. But that whole sentiment doesn't seem to be there. And I was thinking about that last night and thinking to myself, is that because so many people don't have any cash at all nowadays? They're just trying to survive. And I really think that's part of what's going on worldwide. It's not just local to Australia, but worldwide. So, yeah, if I had some spare cash right now, I'd be buying that, honestly. I don't think the market's fully dead, but that's what I would be doing. No financial advice.
You'd be viewing Bitcoin a bit like one of the metal commodities, buy in the dip kind of thing. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah, I don't see it going down much further than this, right? Not unless we have disastrous market crash or something.
Well, true. And if we do have a disastrous market crash, like I assume you're meaning stock market?
Correct.
That's going to have a very big impact on the Bitcoin price. Could that decimate it? Could it take Bitcoin to zero?
Don't think Bitcoin will ever go to zero purely because of the underlying architecture of the ledgers that are created from it. There's too much business usage of those, right? So I can't see that it will just disappear completely. Can I see that a lot of cryptocurrencies will be destroyed? Yeah. Right. But the top blue chip ones may fall for a while, but they'll eventually pick back up, and you'll get your things like you did with the .com bubble, etc., where certain businesses will survive, you know, like your Apples and your Microsofts and your online shopping components like Amazon, etc. They'll survive. But you need to be really picky what you choose.
Well, also considering that, see, this is the thing that's been worrying me about these online businesses for some time. They are selling us shit, like really cheap shit. There's no quality left in the world anymore. You can't buy a kettle. You can't buy a toilet. You can't buy anything anymore with any longevity to it. And that makes me wonder, they'll be the retailer of only choice. Although there have been stories that Walmart closed over 250 stores last week in the US without notice, just closed stores. But I'm not in the US, and I don't know whether or not your local Walmart closed. So if that's the case, please let us know. I'd be interested. But going back to Bitcoin, can you just give me a brief history of Bitcoin? Where did it come from?
The actual inventor is, there's a huge conspiracy theory around who that is or what it was, but the inventor who wrote the initial white paper was back in about 2009. And effectively, it was talking about a cryptocurrency and what was going to actually happen with that and how it could be used as a global purchase with a trustless system, which means you don't have to trust a third party to do your transfer for you like you do today, where you transfer to the bank and then the bank transfers it to the other bank and you have to trust those two banks will actually transfer your money. This is more of a direct person. So that's the history of where it come from, and they started a market. Mt. Gox was the first major player in that, and then that ended up going bankrupt and all sorts of things happened there.
Okay.
So the idea of the blockchain, though, is the point that you have to look at. Not so much Bitcoin, but blockchain and its capabilities, the technology behind it. And
so
Bitcoin
was there
first blockchain.
Sorry, was there an author? Was there somebody attributed to being the father of all of this?
Yeah, and you're asking me to say his name, and I'm just going to fall over it, so I'm trying not to.
Japanese guy, Satoshi.
Yoko, but I can't even think of his name. But yeah, there's supposed to be an author of that.
Pretty sure it was Satoshi.
Satoshi Nakamura. There you go. I got it. Satoshi Nakamura.
There you go. All right. I want to play this.
Who is really behind Bitcoin? Really behind Bitcoin. You would run as fast as you fucking could to sell it. I know. 100%. If you knew who owned Bitcoin or who started Bitcoin, you had Bitcoin, you couldn't sleep at night. I know.
That's old Dan. He knows a lot of the secrets of the world, according to Dan. However, the Epstein Files have been throwing up all sorts of interesting things. There's 3 million pages, and you need to have one of those autistically blessed minds to be able to go through this and categorize it. And there are people out there who have done that. There's some guy who's done a Google-abled search where you can literally keyword search the entire thing and get everything, rather than going through the US justice site, which doesn't seem to fulfill all your requests. However, there have been a lot of interesting documents, and every day there are new things being thrown up. Now, the mainstream media are focusing on the salacious parts. The princess, he's not a prince anymore, Andrew and Fergie in particular. They're focusing on Epstein having had not one child, like I told you the other night. There is some conspiracy toward who is the father of the guy who's now the mayor of New York City, a Muslim.
Yes.
More details have come out about other women who have said they've had multiple children that were taken from him immediately, or taken from them immediately at birth. These children have been brought up in private schools around the world and have now grown up, been educated, and have been placed in various organizations around the world with Jeffrey Epstein's blood in them and some, royal kind of whatever the hell. Anyway, along with documents like that and documents that I can show you here and we'll talk about shortly, there is this document, which came out October 31, 2008, to Project Bitcoin Funding and White Paper from Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell. Hi, Benny. Ghislaine, the Satoshi pseudonym is working perfectly. Our little digital gold mine is ready for the world. Funding secured, Jeffrey.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, old mate did say, you'll be fucking surprised when you learn who came up with Bitcoin. And I do remember a few years ago saying that there are rumors that it's Jeffrey Epstein.
He wouldn't have the brains for that side of things.
Well,
he may organize it, but
he can fund it.
Yeah.
But what a great way to pay for services are provided. Services that are difficult to provide with normal banking facilities by way of payment. And part of the reason that Bitcoin, amongst other cryptos, have been targeted, and when you might remember, Vince, I think we were having a conversation way back in the day with QSI, where, amongst others, I think they might have been saying in the early days that Bitcoin was going to collapse to nothing and there would be no Bitcoin after the great financial reset. And then there was a change because the people of Bitcoin leapt through whatever hoops were required to leap through to become a real thing. But if Bitcoin is something that's been constructed by Jeffrey Epstein, it won't have been by him. It will have been by the CIA, or more particularly Mossad. Although, and just to show some of the absurdities, I didn't bother saving it because it's just not worth saving, but there is so much shit being thrown up online at the moment. Jeffrey Epstein didn't work for the Jews. Jeffrey Epstein didn't work for CIA. He worked for Vladimir Putin's secret spy corps.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I sent the Aussie Cossack a text asking if this was the case or if he could find out. I haven't received a reply. But some of the stuff that's coming out, all right? Now, I'm going to show you a couple of things here that I would like to talk about. Before I get into that, I would like to point out there will be no yoga pants with my face on the bum. I have had, well, I don't know if they're requests, but I've had a lot of people, soft inquiries, let's call it, whether or not
I can see that a lot of people would like to smack you on the face and it would give them a good reason.
Now, well, maybe there's a potential market. But to those guys, oops. Oh, got some screen popping up, update successful. I didn't even know it updated anything. I have some people who were thinking that I would be wearing the yoga pants. No. God almighty, I want you people to be able to sleep at night. Can you imagine? Also, the funeral director, this lady, she had a get out of the funeral home free card today. At 9 o'clock this morning, the Nationals were meant to front up centre and say, yes, Mrs. Lay, we're going to be good boys and girls. We're going to do exactly what you guys say, and we understand we've got to go and sit on the back bench for about 6 months so that we can look like we've been punished for having a thought that was different to yours. Thankfully, they didn't turn up. David Littleproud, without doing that, did that to the Liberal Party and suggested there was a long way to go before they would be rejoining. And what he's asking for doesn't sound to me like it's too much, but I don't care for either party in any great fashion. And the longer that they tear themselves apart, the more likely we are going to find blokes like Senator Antic moving across possibly to the likes of Pauline Hanson and One Nation. Now, don't think it's not possible. Corey Bernardi had accepted and been in negotiations and accepted his part in One Nation months ago, he admitted today, and that they just had to find the right time to announce it, and months ago wasn't the right time. The right time is now, where he is going to be lead candidate in the state of South Australia, and he is going to be a pretty good face, I think, for South Australians. He will be, because of the, let's call it, celebrity status that he has from his pre-Parliament days. Plus, he's also delved into business in South Australia and been highly successful promoting South Australian business. He is going to be a very good front man for One Nation in South Australia. Now, I know you've been asleep for the last 18 hours, Vince, so I can't ask you the political temperature of the state exactly. But what's your gut feeling on Corey Bernardi as a potential premier, should they get enough votes in the lower house in the South Australian government?
Okay, I think they're going to get some seats here. I think this is the first trial run for One Nation, and I believe they will get a significant, well, quite a number of seats. I'm not going to say significant because I'm going to tell our South Australians, you're as dumb as the last election you voted Labor in full on. So, but if they were there,
they may not have. There is some doubt about well, vote counts and all that sort of stuff. I know you and I dispute that, but that's why the wave and the thing I spoke about last night. While we know there's a bit over 3.2 million people who didn't vote in the last election, we don't know how many of them reside in South Australia.
No, that's the unfortunate part about the wave of non-conformist or the voters, the people who decided not to vote. We have no idea where they are because the government doesn't give a shit because, as far as they're concerned,
they don't
it's
vote.
not working, right? They don't care, right? To them, it's a free pass. So,
yep. And if you've ever written to a politician and wanted a reply and got one, you'll get one from an underthing that says, "Oh, I've been asked to reply to you on behalf of the minister or the member, the local member. You are currently not registered on the electoral roll in our area or in our seat or in our whatever, so we can't help you." And that's
I don't even
as
think
far
they
as
go
it
that
goes.
far.
Well, I think they probably get paid somewhere along the line to acknowledge that, you know, we got something from you, but we don't have to do anything about it because you don't live in my electorate. And I find that pretty disgusting, because we could organize an email run at 1 or 2 or 10 politicians and get 100,000 emails to them inside an hour, but they will simply dismiss and send them straight to a trash box or a junk box somewhere if they come from anything that's identifiable as outside of their electorate.
Yeah. You know, that big email thing we did about the vote through Joel, etc., and so on, and I sent out all of those emails to all of those people. I got one reply. Just one.
One reply.
Just one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was from Pocock, of all people.
Yeah. Was it an automated reply? Was it, oh, well, you don't live in Canberra, so I can't help you?
No, it did just explain where they sat. It wasn't, it was, I gather, a templated reply, put it that way, that they would send out to all people. But out of the 26 or so I emailed, I got one.
Okay. All right. I want to bring up something here for us to natter about. Now, for those of you playing along at home, I'm going to need to blow this up here so I can read it a bit. Now, these two are documents, what I'm showing you here, and the next couple of things have come from the Epstein Files. Context is a word I think we all need to be very aware of and have a great understanding of. You can see for yourself, there are many names of great familiarity to Australian politics listed on this bit of paper. Mark Latham, John Howard, Kevin Rudd, Gillard, Abbott, probably goes down further if I scroll back out. Scott Morrison, Gillard again, Malcolm Turnbull is on the list. And so too are a number of people who I'm not familiar with, but Adelaide University might be very familiar with, because there's a lot of people listed. Now, up the top, there's a big circle around targeting, which is interesting. And if you read this government or read this document, it's difficult to read because you have no context from where it comes, what it refers to, or how it came into existence. But because it reads with Kevin Rudd, Julia Gillard, John Howard, Mark Latham, Scott Morrison's name all over it, and Turnbull's as well, you get excited. You say, "Oh, they're in the X Files." I was going to say they're in the Epstein Files. So are they in the Epstein Files? Well, yes, they are. These names are listed. So too is John Anderson, who was leader of the National Party at the time. But my question is, could these documents be blackmail? Could this be targeting data, right, for Australian politicians for the Epstein control web? Because it clearly says targeting. It doesn't say involvement, but government involvement, intellectual property theft. So the government have been stealing intellectual property, probably from scientists through the CSIRO, if I had to take a stab, but there could be private people involved in all of this as well. Stealing intellectual property, which could have to do with new fueling or new propulsion technologies, all that kind of stuff. Illegal surveillance within my home. Is this the Jacqueline Pierce that is listed at the top? Is it the Jacqueline Pierce home? I don't know. Mark Latham from 2003, Labor, start of stolen business concepts, illegal surveillance, privacy of my home. Paul Keating, Labor, listed there as well. John Howard, stolen business concepts, privacy of my home, married coalition partner John Anderson. I don't think I think the comma is in the wrong spot, because while John Howard might be a lot of things, I don't recall him marrying John Anderson. Could be wrong. it might have been one of those satanic kind of weddings that happen in Masonic lodges. So anything's possible. Howard, medical business plan, 27 to 2009, Regional Development Board, Port Pirie. Now, Craig Cole released some documents out of the earlier tranche, or just the beginnings of the search through the documents a few nights ago, where I think there's 16 or something along those lines, people, most of which are police officers listed out of Port Pirie. Here we are once again with Port Pirie poking up, the Regional Development Board. What happens with Regional Development Boards? Well, there's a lot of money gets floated around them, because that's how you get regionally things developed, through the Development Board. What a shock that John Howard might be sitting around where the money is there. Kevin Rudd, stolen picture from dating sites. Now, did Kevin Rudd steal someone's picture from a dating site? Or was Kevin Rudd putting a picture up on a dating site? And if so, how do you get things removed from Grindr? I don't know what site it was on. I just have my suspicions. Anyway, sexual targeting and motorcycle gangs. So does this mean that the motorcycle gangs were targeting Rudd in some way, shape or form? They'd stolen a picture from his dating site. Maybe they were going to out him and Chris Bowen as, better than home wreckers. They were real cunt re-wreckers. So there could be a possibility they were outed in such a fashion. Just a thought. Don't let me progress down that line. The red-headed clown Gillard. This is interesting. Sexual targeting. So if you view this from perspective of here's how we would target this person if we are indeed needing to, then somebody called Jay Monequick, well, you can say it, Julia Gillard, Labor, sexual targeting, fraudulent activity. The fraudulent activity thing got me, not so much that initial or that name, or the sexual targeting, because I think she'd just think herself lucky. The fraudulent activity, however, dates right back to her relationship with a former union guy whose name was Wilson also, funnily enough, I think. I need to check that. She was working for Slater and Gordon as a lawyer, and she was a partnered lawyer at this point. She had done a couple of things that were alleged to be a bit nefarious, particularly when it came to getting a home loan through the company, through the law firm. I think it was Slater and Gordon, one of them. And then, in the course of her work and the boyfriend, they went to Western Australia and stood up in Boulder, Kalgoorlie, and held a town meeting with all of the miners and essentially took control of the death funds for the Kalgoorlie and Boulder mining unions. And all that money disappeared. Now, that money's there. If a miner had died underground or on the job somewhere, then there is a fund to make sure that the funeral is paid for, the families are looked after, whether that fund pays out any house or mortgage or whatever. In those days, that's the kind of thing they were doing. So it did have a fair bit of money in it. And in those days, the union was worth being in because it did look after its people prior to the point of Julia Gillard and her rather devious mate. And I mean mate in a sexual sense. This guy is just, a piece of filth too. Turned up on a West Australian building site that wasn't complying with the union instructions and threatened to blow the whole thing up. Had a car boot full of explosives, allegedly. Never did a day inside for it. But anyway, Julia Gillard, fraudulent activity. Could it have anything to do with the Boulder Kalgoorlie death fund? Because there's a lot of missing money in that. And she went back to Melbourne And when all this started to appear, Slater and Gordon got rid of her. Couldn't happen fast enough. There were significant issues. She had exposed the firm in ways that were not only career ending for her, but could have shut down Slater and Gordon as a business, full stop. She placed the entire partnership in jeopardy. Now, there is a former Australian soldier who got into business, then got into radio, after all weird and marvelous things. Wound up doing a drive show on 4BC in Brisbane. His name was, or is, Michael Smith. Now, he was so good in Brisbane Drive that they wound up taking him straight down to Sydney, and he commenced at 2GB in the afternoon slot the year after. He didn't see out too many months because in the background he had been working on this whole Gillard story. He had been tracking everything that she had put her hand on, and her boyfriend, Wilson. And he had put his fingers into a lot of different pies and hurt a lot of people. And Gillard was all part of it. In fact, there was quite a large money trail that she conspicuously was a fairly large part of, allegedly. And Michael Smith had forensically detailed her involvement. He also had an interview with someone that was going to confirm, if you like, blow the whistle on Julia Gillard completely. And this was early on into his new Sydney job, where ratings is everything. Stories like this don't come along every day, and to break a big one like this is a ripper. So he was meant to go on air, I think it was at 4 o'clock, or it might have been 3. At 1 o'clock, he got the message that the interview that he'd done had been legaled and they weren't going to play it. Not because there was anything wrong with it, but they were just not going to play it. Now, that was station management. So Michael, being an independent journalist, didn't take that very well. And he got rid of... Well, no, he didn't get rid of anything. He wasn't put on air that day. They went into negotiations. They wanted all the copies of the tape. He didn't give them to them. And I am led to believe that he was sacked that day and has never been on radio in Australia since. I believe he moved to Thailand. Now, he was running a website, even though it was abhorrently pro-Jewish. He was running a website out of Thailand, I think, or Indonesia, called michaelsmithnews.com, but he has disappeared off the face of the earth. Now, part of me is hoping that's because they don't want him having that website, because it had all of the details of Julia Gillard's crimes committed against not just the people and the mining families of Boulder and Kalgoorlie, but against the nation in various different ways. So I kind of fingers crossed that with this increased talk that there are courts of tribunal happening and people being locked up in Gitmo and other places, sightings of prison ships in various different places, well, it gives me a nice warm feeling to think he might be giving evidence against Julia Gillard. I mean, I know it's probably wishful thinking, but I do get nice woolly feelings. Now, here's another one which you might find is lacking, well, more than context, I would have thought. This particular long statement, he says, while trying to bring it up in front of him so he can bloody well read it. Where is it? There. If you go down to the circled bit, There is some talk here of the Sinaloa cartel being involved at the Donald Trump golf course. I'll read the whole thing for you. What I will point out to you is the date it was written, 06/21 of 2021, so the 21st of the 6th. It was written at 4 o'clock or a little after in the afternoon. The details from whom and to whom have been redacted. Called FBI National Threat called to, or somebody rather called the National Threat Operations Center to report Donald Trump knew and funded underage sex parties at the Donald Trump golf course. No mention of which Donald Trump golf course. Donald Trump has many, many golf courses. I'm not making excuses. This might all be true. However, let's push on. Whatever they were, provided the following information. Whoever they were recently interviewed by an FBI agent. However, he felt triggered as a victim and didn't report all of the information. So I want you to remember that he felt triggered as a victim and did not report all the information. Somebody rather had recordings of Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell discussing marketing strategies for high-profile sex parties at the Donald Trump course. However, whoever mailed the recordings to a lawyer in the Cayman Islands. Whoever was part of the Sinaloa cartel worked closely with Epstein and Maxwell, and they were able to walk away from the cartel due to his status with Epstein and Maxwell. I don't know, can't quite read that bit. In the recordings, Trump stated that he was aware of the underage sex parties and charged the house money off the golf course to fund the sex parties, I guess. Someone witnessed Robin Leach strangle a young girl during a sex party. He claims she is buried behind the 19th hole at the Trump golf course. Someone is aware of the three separate occasions in which girls were supposedly murdered. There are so many weird things in that document. But bear in mind, it comes out of the Epstein Files. And it says somebody rang up and reported this back in 2021, in middle of the year 2021. So this has been thoroughly investigated by all and sundry, both sides. Do you think if there was any truth to this, it wouldn't have been used against Trump in some way, shape, or form? So I would also flag Vince. Oh, you've disappeared. Where is the 19th hole on a golf course?
It's called the pub.
It is called the pub. So apparently, Robin Leach strangled a young girl and she's buried behind the pub at Donald Trump golf course.
Oh, really?
All those details there. Oh, Donald Trump's, he's associated with Epstein. They tear their heads off babies. It might all be true, but not from that document. Okay? Because this is just a report that's come in. That's like I could ring up and say, Vince has a fetish for bush turkeys. And, when they jump his fence, they get tickled in a way they don't generally appreciate. And
you're starting my rumor. Cut it out.
And next thing you know, the South Australian police are knocking on Vince's door as a turkey tickler. There's headlines, Manham turkey tickler surprises neighbours.
I think I might leave this show now before he reveals real evidence.
I was going to do a smell your fingers gag, but I don't think I'll go there. But you get the idea of what I'm saying. I mean, these are just, somebody can ring up and the reports are automatically taken. If there had been truth to this, I imagine every pub behind every Donald Trump golf course had been dug up or at least investigated to see how many small children or others could be buried on them. There is another story where Donald Trump's must be one of the groundsmen, I dare say, off the Donald Trump golf course from no specific area, says that he threatens some people, if you don't do the right thing, we'll just use you as compost on the back nine.
Hey, they don't want to kill the lawn.
Well, no, and blood and bone is meant to be very good for the grass. I mean, you know, if you're into
Depends
that
on the
kind of thing.
quality, mate. Depends on the quality.
Yes, indeed. So I would just caution people to be very wary of the Epstein Files, and when people say, so and so was in the Epstein Files and such was in there, and because we automatically have connotations that they were on the island sticking electrical, wires inside children and watching them squirm on the ground. If you haven't seen that video, there's one that'll keep you up at night. They're not. Clive Palmer was mentioned, and he made the mainstream media today as mentioned. But Palmer is only mentioned because Steve Bannon, was bragging that he got Clive to spend $84 million in the 2019 federal election campaign. So that's what Clive Palmer is mentioned for, not because he flew on the Lolita Express or took his own private jet and then copped a boat over to St. James Fiddle Me Island with Jeffrey Epstein and friends. He's not mentioned in any way like that. So we have to be very careful about how excited we get about things that come out, because people can say a lot of things, but what they can prove is something very different. I like this one. Elon Musk has come back with a couple of very good points after some documents that have been released more or less exonerate him from a lot of the things that people have said he was all about. It also uses this to show exactly how the propagandists work, and admit nothing, deny everything, make counter accusations against, well, in this case, him. And that is exactly the playbook of the Labor Party here in Australia against anybody who puts up a fight. And be aware, Pauline Hanson is putting up a fight. We have yet to see the full force of the slags in Labor and the slime in Liberal Party ranks come and, bring the guns to bear, so to speak, on One Nation. But it's coming. You can feel the temperament in mainstream media if you can stomach watching any of it, but just in certain commentary and the words they use to introduce a story that has Pauline talking about one thing or another. And at the moment, it is Pauline who seems to be doing much of the talking in mainstream media, while Barnaby Joyce is putting out a series, by the look of it, of social media videos, which are roughly edited, probably on his phone, sitting back at the office. But he is saying, well, I'm going to go into the Parliament today and I'm going to ask such and such a question. And I guarantee you that they will say and make excuse after excuse after excuse and deny me any access to what I'm asking for. And next thing, it cuts to him standing up and asking the question and the excuse, the denial, the bullshit that they get fed from the Labor Party. Then he comes and explains why they do that on the end of it. Now, that is really smart online marketing, right? Because he's explaining the lie. He's explaining all those little intricate secrets. Well, not all of them, maybe. He's done 2 that I've seen. But he is pointing out where the loophole is they're trying to use, or just how slimy they are in their answering. I think this is a very clever way for One Nation to go forward. Malcolm could do exactly the same thing, because Roberts tears the proverbial second arsehole out of public servants and ministers for the most part, although it turns out that ministers are one giant arsehole, and it doesn't matter how many new ones you tear, they just keep bleeding shit. So, but I give him much kudos for trying. Much kudos for trying. So we need to keep that effort up, I reckon.
I just want to say before you move off that topic, just as a repeat, just so everybody knows, Topher's predicting it. I predicted it too before he did, so I was one up on Topher for a change. Yay.
Yeah.
But if we don't get this word out there to the Australian people, pretty much guarantee that the federal government, the current Labor government, will make One Nation a hate group.
Yep.
Right? It's their only way they can stop this landslide, this tsunami, as Carl was calling it last night, from literally taking over this country. And if that's their only option, and that's why they wrote that legislation. So we need to spread this far and wide that this is one of their moves, and hopefully we'll make it so well known they won't do that move. But if we don't, I'm bloody sure they will. Okay, my say.
And I don't know if I made the point clear enough last night about the tsunami of support for One Nation, but and the fact that Darren Bergworth, myself, and others have been for many years on the side of, we can't vote our way out of this. That doesn't mean that we get to ignore reality. And the fact is, this tsunami has potential if it can be maintained. Not just maintained, it has to grow. And it has to grow another 2 times the size it already is before the election comes around. Now, if they can maintain that momentum at One Nation, if they can grow their membership base, if they can, and there's a lot of ifs here, if they can field quality candidates in every seat in the nation, then I feel we, the Australian people who have forever been brought up on this, what I consider a broken political system, have the opportunity to wipe the old system clear, not by having One Nation merge with the Liberal Party and the National Party, but by having One Nation surge to complete control in both houses. With that control, there is no need to make deals with, Labor, Liberal, National, Green, Teal, or Independent. With that mandate, One Nation has the support of the Australian people to do not just maybe what they say they are going to do, and they say they're going to do a lot of very good things, but there are other things that we need them to do too. We need to have open, honest discussions about certain elements of our political system that are letting the people down. We need to have an open and honest conversation with people who have the ability to make it better for this country. What I fear, and if this were to happen, then all gloves are off after that 4-year period. What I fear is that One Nation, if we did elect them in a tsunami win, where there is no doubt that the people have lost support in the 2 preferred parties put forward by our mainstream media, when they're both decimated and there is a sea of orange sitting around both houses, when they have that sort of power, they can do anything they like, or more particularly, they can do anything the people demand.
Yep.
Now, you would have 4 years to do that.
Yep.
4 years to put up policies which might take 10, 12, 15 years to complete, 20 years to complete. What we require from our politicians are politicians willing to commit to Australia's long-term future. And that means large infrastructure projects, somewhere where we can put actually talented and skilled immigrants into the Australian working system, give them a job, give them something that they can be proud of, like everybody who worked on the Snowy Mountain scheme back in the day. The new Australians who came out to work on the Snowy Mountain scheme were some of the proudest, hardest working Australians you will ever meet. And once they'd done their their work at the mountains and the snowy system came into being, they scattered across Australia and started businesses in all sorts of areas, from earth moving to fish and chip shops, everywhere. We can do the same again. Some of those families are now 4th and 5th generation Australians. Couldn't get more Aussie.
Yeah. Well, you've got to look at it this way, Carl. If everybody wants to look at the government as a corporation, which we all believe it is, right? How do a corporation vote their members of the board? Right? It's all the shareholders. They come together and they choose who they want to vote for to put up as the head honchos of the board. So if we have a corporation here, how do we choose? Right? If we don't vote, then we don't choose. All right. It's like turning up to the baseball match. Well, not turning up to the baseball match, you automatically forfeit the game to the other side. They win. They love you for it. Right? Now, most people will be, I didn't get to play the game. But remember, we're talking about sociopaths here. They don't care as long as they get the power. So for everybody who doesn't vote, and I know you might not agree with it, but you're only assisting them by not voting. You're not even taking the option to try and take them out. So personally, as far as I'm concerned, I know all the stuff. I know that they're corporate. I know that they're not legal. I know all that sort of stuff. But they have the major power. So the only option we've got to weaponize our voice or weaponize our vote is to actually vote that set of government bureaucrats out of play and put another set in and hope like crazy that they will do what's better for the country. Why we continue to educate everybody on the truth? Okay,
the question for me comes down to, do you trust Pauline Hanson? Do you trust Malcolm Roberts? Do you trust Barnaby Joyce? Potentially Mr. Bernardi in South Australia? Do you trust them to do better things for Australia than the current crop of criminals that we have residing in that place? More, do you trust One Nation? Do you trust Pauline and co to make real change to where I believe, and it would require some investigation, but I think Malcolm Roberts is onto it, real change in the bureaucracy? Now, I know she says she's going to cut bureaucracy jobs. Well, that's fine. I mean, there's a pool of jobs, people who have jobs in Parliament House and people who don't. And that can all depend on what your party decided to do in the party room today and whether or not you're a minister or a shadow minister anymore. Because if you were once and aren't today, all the staff you had are gone by the time you get back. And they're not festered around in some other office. They are kicked out. Give us your credentials back. Thanks very much. No more work for you. So, not that I find that terribly bad thing, but
Clay, yeah. I just have to answer your question. It's illegal to vote in a corporate election if you are not a shareholder. Mate, they legislated as shareholders, so that excuse don't work. I'm sorry, you're on the books. If you've been registered as a voter, then you are a shareholder by default. So use your power.
And even if you don't believe in it, this is the election to try it. Because I believe that if the 3.2 million cohorts of mine and Darren's and others all came together and we gave One Nation the ultimate power, and that's what that would be, the tsunami of ultimate power to success, a sea of orange in both houses, so that they don't have to do dirty deals. They don't have to do background negotiations. They can literally say, get fucked.
Yeah, like that.
To the criminals who've done what they've done to this country for decades, centuries even, potentially. Not quite to Australia, but you get the idea. And then, of course, with all those people, those 3.2 plus million people who get off their bum and just say, righto, Carl, yeah, let's do that. Let's give them this one chance. We'll come out of hibernation, from our voting hibernation, which might be, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years long, one time. I will let you, Carl, drag me out for the bad sausage and the interesting conversation standing in line one time.
Yep.
And that'll be at the next election. But you better give me someone in One Nation to vote for.
Mm.
So that becomes a problem for One Nation. They need to put somebody into every seat. But if we can get those people motivated on the guise of you will clean out the bureaucracy, because I believe that's where the filth and the corruption resides. That's where it's rusted in deep, right? Because all the shit on top can wash over and be blown off and change. But underneath, that's where the senior public servants, they hold the keys to the dungeons where the secrets are buried. And they're the people we need to be rid of. We need to throw open the doors of those dungeons and let the sunlight in. We don't have a swamp. We've just got a filthy, great, dirty, dark tunnel, probably under Canberra, occasionally flooded with water from Lake. Oh, no, let's not go down there. You get the idea.
Yeah. So effectively, as far as I see it, right, if you look at those figures that we put out the other night, it was like One Nation was what, 2 million behind the current Labor Party. How many people didn't vote? 3.2 million? Let's say 70% of them decided to vote. Where does that put the race? And if they voted One Nation, where does that put the race? Right? This is just the numbers, guys. It's just logic. So
then I want to take that one step further. I want to take that one step further. If after you place your support in One Nation and they have, let's say, an overwhelming mandate in both houses to do and make whatever changes the Australian people want, let's say, would support, starting with a great many of the ones, the majority, starting with the ones she's already listed, which is because I can't fault too many of those. Get out of the UN, get out of the WEF, get out of the WHO.
Yep.
These are pretty good starts. And immediately, don't just say, oh, we'll be out in 4 years. No, pull the pin today. We're not paying you any more money. Take us to the World Court. Fuck you. You get nothing. Land ownership in Australia needs to be looked at straight away. There's another huge tract of land up here. 181 acres got bought by a Chinaman today. Now, or recently. Going to be turned into a development. It's out off, near Moreton Island. So, beautiful sea breezes occasionally, although it'll be a sand bowl. So, and they'll build it with all white roofs, black roofs rather, because I don't like building white roofs, the Chinese. Anyway, that's a whole other story. So land ownership in this country, particularly for big land developers, big international land developers, needs to be looked at extremely closely. If there is land available for development, and development is a good thing for this land, then I believe One Nation could be responsible for setting up a land development fund that all Australians pay into, and the land becomes government development land, government, private government, however that works, with us, people we can trust, not people who will say, oh, I've got a government contract that's twice the price of everything. I don't know that it's twice the price, but I know when you got a Labor government in power, I know in certain businesses that you get a government contract, you slap another 15 or 20% on top of every item. And you make a lot of money out of it. And eventually your local Labor member will come to you when they've done the figures and say, oh, well, you stand to make quite a lot of money out of that. How much are you going to give back to the party? And that's where the brown paper bag starts. So let's not get caught that way, shall we? Not good. We are getting on. It's just gone an hour. There are a couple of things I need to mention. I won't. Oh, Nicki Minaj got me very confused. Nicki Minaj, not somebody I've ever followed. All I know about her is she's got a really big bum and would probably, I would dare say, look extremely, extremely good in a pair of those. But aside from that, I would have also bet, the left side of my testicular fortitude on the fact that she'd signed the musical contract with the devil and was very committed to it, given some of the god-awful lyrics that girl's come out with. However, things seem to have changed because she is popping up now at Trump events left and right. In fact, she's being wheeled out with Trump at some of these events. She is holding lives on social media. She's posting stuff left and right. She couldn't be a bigger Trump supporter. And I'm just thinking, and she's certainly targeting her young demographic and trying to bring them over. Interestingly, Lady Gaga appears to be firing up in the opposite direction because she likes to have her little monsters in control, and she's about to kick off, if she hasn't already, another world tour, which will bring her back to our fair shores, I think, at the end of this year. Bloody great. Wouldn't you love to see her wrapped up in a bit of off lamb meat? Remember that year she went to the Grammys or wherever it was, dressed in a meat dress?
Meat dress, yeah.
Yeah. Come and do that in Australia in summer, darling. I'd love to see it. Probably just cook on her at the moment. Epstein File news still. We keep going. Here is another beautiful one. George Clooney hunted for underage girls with Epstein in Europe, according to these released DOJ files. Now, this happened in 2014. I haven't seen those released DOJ files. They are part of the 3 million or so. And that, too, could just be a weird little phoner that came in. However, it does seem to have some weird and fairly strong witness evidence attached to it. So keep an eye out for what's coming up there. Now, I told you about how wonderful Vince has been coming up with our new FBN logo. Here it is, just so that you can see how good it looks over our heads. Go the other way, Vince. There you go. Doesn't that look good? Somebody should screenshot that. Anyway, that is the new logo. And what are you going to do with it? Well, you can put it on your shirt. That'll be on one side, and that'll be on the other side. The sleeves will have that on it. And that's how good. I think that just looks great. You've got to be patted on the back. It's a bloody marvelous job. Now, merch.vofhq.com, and you go to the shop, and then you can click on the shirt. There's a mauve. There is a what would you call it? Burgundy, maroon kind of shirt there that has the new thing on it. But there are a few other new bits and pieces too, Vince. We've been thinking about throwing up, including. This. Now, I don't know if we shouldn't just make this a notepad for people, or like a little magnet on it, hangs on your fridge, or we turn this into a T-shirt too. But Rearm Australia, weaponize your vote. You choose your preference, not them. I really like that. Goes well on a cup. But as we discussed, it would help if people actually understood preferential voting and the power of it. Rather than just taking the card and following what the card says, it would be much better to understand what preferential voting is. So we're going to come up with another one that says Rearm Australia, weaponize your vote, understand what, or was it understand? What did I say?
It was learn how to use your preference.
Yeah, learn how to use your preference, because it's going to be important. Particularly if we want One Nation to ride a tsunami of success so that there is a sea of green in both houses, so that there can be no doubt in any section of the public that One Nation had a mandate to do essentially whatever they like. But the people of Australia, sorry?
And don't forget, people, that on the Voice of Freedom website, we have a KPI list that you can add to as well. And a thought process here. We've got that, why don't we get the people in the comments of this show to suggest how best to get this message out, whether it be by cups, by T-shirt, by notepads, by stickers. Why don't you guys comment below, right? Get into their comment below, and the one with the most comments is the one that we'll do first. Okay?
Yeah.
So it's all up to you. Viewers, it's your choice.
It's your choice, as they say.
Oh, shit, you might be voting. Oh, sorry.
You might be voting. Yeah. I just wanted to show the price of silver at the moment. 107 Australian dollars, and data from America jobs-wise will come out in the next few hours. So tomorrow morning, I wouldn't have expectations. It's going to be much higher than that. It is what it is at the moment, folks. The Asian guy is still running around telling a number of different stories. I mowed some lawns today and listened to, I think it was 3 of his podcasts. I can't see that. All I can see is your...
yeah, I'm trying to get it.
All right.
Tony snapshotted it. Tony snapshotted it. We've got it with both of our heads on either side. I'll send it to you.
Very good. Very good. I don't know what the hell I was talking about now. So there
Sorry,
you go.
mate.
All right. It's all good. If you're looking for a shirt, we can help you with a shirt. If you're looking for a cap, we can probably sort. Well, I don't think the caps are on there yet. But let us know what you would like. What would you find useful? I personally think we should have barbecue aprons.
Yeah, the only problem is that they're an embroidered one and it limits the colors. We can't actually put a sticker on or a print on those.
Okay. Yeah,
so
right.
I guess it's probably something to do with fire regulations and plastic and stuff. So, but
it may well have something to do with that. Yes. All right. Well, if you happen to be an Australian business who does those sorts of things, let us know. Carl at vofhq.com or Vince at vofhq.com. We'll see what we can come up with.
Don't forget our lottery.
$2. That's how easy it would be for you to get 750. All you've got to do is go to merch.vofhq.com. I'm saying that too fast. merch.vofhq.com. And then click on the Sanctury 750 link and spend $2 with us. I think there's only 70 odd tickets sold in the current lottery, and don't bother buying tickets if you are from Victoria, not even if you're using a VPN. Vince, would you like to explain what the criminals in Victoria are doing to make us feel like criminals?
Okay, so their current legislation specifies that you can't go in for a cash prize, and also that any, as you would know, the lottery supports both Voice of Freedom and also the registered donkey sanctuary. But according to Victorian law, we would have to input all of those funds that you guys purchased directly into the donkey sanctuary. So you can't have a cash prize. You can't have that. You can't buy using Section 109 because of the Constitution, because it's not classed as trade. And if you are living in Victoria and the card comes from Victoria, even if you VPN to New South Wales, you still cannot buy the ticket. So basically, Victoria is trying to say that you're not allowed to have any sort of chance at success at all. I may be intimating that, but that appears to be what the legislation says. So anybody
if that's not the intent, it's the effect.
Yeah. Anybody who does purchase from Vic, we will refund any money you've got until I work a way to actually stop you from purchasing. And for those who purchased previously, we thank you for your donation. But what is past, and there's not much they can do about that at this stage. And we, once again, thank you for your donation. If you have issues with that, contact me.
Yep. Awesome. And of course, we can always accept your donations at vofhq.com too. Right now, I had hoped to spend a bit of silver and put the bus on the road. It needs to get registered and need to head down to Victoria and then off to South Australia, where Vince assures me he's going to fit the new headlights that we've had ordered from America. And he and I are going to pull the whole front off the bus and fix them up. That's going to be fun. So
Him filming me working.
I'm going to try and work. I just don't want to break anything. She's 25 years old. We need to throw her a party. Anyway, I wonder if I can get... I've probably got to wait another 5 years before I can get antique registration for her. At any rate, if you want to help us out by contributing a few bucks to help us get her back on the road, folks, please hit the donate button at vofhq.com. And I'm thinking, because we're about to have a few slight modifications in how she looks on the outside, if there are those of you who feel the urge to make some sort of significant donation, I would like to put your name or a saying or something that's close to you on the bus to give you recognition. Now, I know a lot of people don't want their names, but there might be something significant. And that might be a saying, that might be something motivational, that might be, I don't know. I'm still sort of thinking it out loud, and I'm happy to take ideas on the whole idea, because I know people don't necessarily want their names. We can also print your name so small that you've got to basically get up with a magnifying glass to read them, but we would require an awful lot of donations to fill even a small portion of what is one of the walls of the old girl here, Blue. That's what I call her, in case you hadn't figured out, Blue. And she's itching to get back on the road, I can tell you. So
Also,
if you can help us, we'd love it. Yes.
Also, if you are looking to get a sponsorship spot in the Voice of Freedom or the FBN programs, we now have a dedicated sponsorship document that you can look at and see what the costs would be involved. So if you have that option, we've got a couple of guys we need to send that to. But if you want to look into those options, please email Vince at vofhq.com and I will send that on to you. And that means that you'll get, like good old other multimedia personalities that are on the net, you'll get your section or your area where you get your ad read out, or we'll play your ad or whatever. I mean, it's all about, for us, making sure that we have enough money to stay alive so you guys are able to get the true and honest and sometimes interpretive news right here.
I like the way interpretive news.
You like that?
I do like
that. Just came out of the top of my head. Probably the last intelligent thing I have to say.
Is that the bit where I get angry? Is that the interpretive bit? All right. Oh, God, the Lord has blessed me with light from above all of a sudden. I think at some point I told you about these great outdoor lights that I've got that I use indoors. They stopped working, I don't know, 6 months ago. And I rang the company and said, not happy. It's all come to a grinding halt. And they said, it's probably got something to do with the connection in the Y joint of this bit and the other. And you can buy another one of those online. And I never got around to doing it. I was sitting here yesterday in the darkness just before the show came on. And all of a sudden, bing, and these things are bright, So they came back to life for no apparent reason. And they died tonight. I only just turned them on. They died tonight as the show intro was playing, and now they've just come back on. So
yeah, light sensor. They're sensing the light inside the bus. You need to cover it. That way you have manual control.
There's a light sensor on it?
Yeah. It's an outside light, right? It's only supposed to shine at nighttime, not at daytime.
There's my control for it. I should be able to turn it off, but that's not working either. The only way I can turn it off is I have a 12-volt battery down here at my feet that they're connected to. So
it looks like that's another reason for visiting South Australia, Carl.
Oh, I hadn't thought of it like that. Yes, maybe we could hardwire the bastards in. That'd be good. All right, we rapidly approach that time of the night, Vincenzo. Love your work and thank you for everything that you do. Nice to see you're awake and go to work on those ideas. Merch.vofhq.com. Go to the shop and check out all the new merch. And Vince will be, at some point, let's not put times and dates and places on him, but sometime over the next couple of hours, days, maybe a week, we'll be adding a few new things. Occasionally, we get just something beautiful turn up in our inboxes that exhibits with great clarity a dickhead of the day. Now, for people on the Sunshine Coast today, they had their own brand new version of complete and total dickhead of the day. I don't have video of it, but what I do have is a picture within seconds of this happening. That little mess there is what happens when an excavator on the back of a low-loaded semi-trailer hasn't had its boom put down in the correct manner and is over 5.4 meters in height. So the excavator boom hit Ilkley Road, that is, up on the Sunshine Coast. It crosses the Bruce Highway. And it is very, very steep bit of road. It's a fabulously fun road to drive on. It took me years to find it. But the fella driving that truck didn't have the vaguest idea what he was doing. And every piece of footage that I have seen in the aftermath of it, and every description I have seen in mainstream media about it, does not allude to the driver's nationality in any way, shape, or form. But if I were a betting man, I would have to say that dickhead of the day comes from, well, a country that's been renowned for providing quite a few of them. Have yourself a bloody good weekend. If you are out on the roads, please avoid those dickheads at all costs. And before I leave you tonight, I'm going to leave you with a thought from Robert Steele, who, if you believe everything you read, passed away a few years ago, or if you read some other things, is living happily with various others waiting to come back out of the shadows and illuminate the world. He's done a little bit of that before he disappeared.
All wars are bankers' wars. All wars are about making a profit for the 1% by consuming the 99%. Iraq was a banker's war. All wars also have a very strong Zionist component. Let me say first that banks are a massive form of legalized crime. Banks basically create money out of thin air for the 1%. They just create $1 billion for themselves out of nothing. They just say, we have $1 billion, and everybody believes them. And then they lend this $1 billion to people and charge interest. So they're creating money and earning interest they don't deserve. Banks are a complete fraud. Countries need to take responsibility for their currency. They should not be allowing the Rothschilds and the Vatican and the Chabad Jews to control their economy. As one very famous banker said one day, I don't care who makes the laws. If I manage the money, I'm making the laws.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!